Welcome back to the Volvo Ocean Race. We are covering the arrivals into Lisbon at the conclusion of the first leg of the Volvo Ocean Race. Vestas 11th Hour Racing has already taken the win, but one thing that we're seeing is a tough battle for those final few miles. Let's go straight into live pictures of what's happening right now on the water. We are seeing AkzoNobel. They are trying to cross the line, then it's just 0.2 nautical miles in front of them. Now you may be able to see in that picture Scallywag on the left-hand side. You can just see the white masthead light just flickering away. They were sailing over their windward side. Now both boats are parked up. Conrad Coleman is with me. Conrad, I mean, we've seen this. Everybody has just slammed the brakes on close to the finish line. This is about as close as anybody got before they got into trouble, though.
This is incredible, frankly. I've never seen a boat get this close to rolling over the top of another one and then have the brakes go on. It's amazing. Just seconds before we came to you, Scallywag were still doing, what were they doing? They were doing 10 or 11 knots, and now, now they've stopped completely. Less than half a mile now for Scallywag. Less than a mile for Scallywag, less than a third of a mile for AkzoNobel, but nobody is going anywhere quickly.
Well, nobody is going to get over this finish line in the next few seconds. So while we've got a little minute, let's take a look back at what was happening earlier on the dockside as some of the other teams reached their friends and family and fans who've been waiting patiently for them to get there.
Charles, difficult race, difficult first leg.
Yes, very difficult, very complicated, I think, for everybody. The weather was very difficult, very different from the weather forecast, and quite difficult, but very interesting and a lot of fun.
Okay, and Pascal, you two are still friends. Difficult race, must have been a lot of difficult decision making. You're still smiling.
In France, we say when we play bad in soccer, but we win. It's not. It's life. It's like that. But we have to take 3 points, so it's okay. So we have to take 3 points, so it's okay.
Very good. You've won ugly, I think, is the expression in English. But well done. Congratulations. And not a perfect start, but okay.
Perfect start. Just after Mediterranean for us this year is not really good because we are, I think, quite bad. And we catch few things also with the boat, so already speed. We catch, I think, very big fish in Gibraltar. And maybe I think we have to check our boat. But that's life also. And after hard work to come back, so the boat will work a lot together, very focused on speed, on performance. And meter after meter, we come back and finish third for us. It's quite okay for the first leg.
Congratulations.
Charles Caudrelier and Pascal Bodigary, the skipper and navigator of Dongfeng Race Team, who were very pleased to get their third finish at the end of the day. A podium place to wrap up leg one for them. Now we are watching AkzoNobel just painfully trying to claw their way to the finish line. And for added pressure, Scallywag has really closed the gap. Now, we weren't expecting anyone to really fly past any of the other teams as we've gotten here, but this is about as close as we've got. Now, Conrad, I just want to pick your brains here on a couple of things that we're seeing on the screen, because we've had some pictures coming in, coming in through Facebook, and some questions about what's going on with the jib. Obviously, we see a crew member down on the right-hand side. Might be Brad Ferrand, I think, just holding on to the clue of the jib. And Angela Bradsma just wondering, what's that all about?
Well, that's a great image there from the onboard camera. The sun has set here in Lisbon, and so we've gone to the night camera. What is he doing there? Well, he's depressed, first of all, because these sheets normally have tons of pressure in them, and if you can hang on to it by hand, then that means that things have gone completely pear-shaped. What's he doing there? Well, he's pushing it out from the side of the boat. In addition to the outrigger, it looks like, And also he's just hanging on to it, trying to keep some pressure in it as it's flopping around. We often talk about the fact that sailors are scared and frustrated and down in the Southern Ocean when it's absolutely blowing really, really strong. But actually, this might be hard to understand, but the frustration is even higher, and often the workload is even higher down in these light conditions. And so he is just struggling to hang on to that sail, keep it flat, keep it tight, and actually, hand by hand, he can be more reactive than you can with a winch.
And we've had some more questions come in as well. For example, Bertil Bush, hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right, has asked about whether AkzoNobel are canting their keel. Well, I can tell you that they are canting their keel. We have a little cheeky system here that lets us peer into the ship's computer, and it's telling me that actually they're using pretty much full cant on the keel to try and get the boat to lean over. Some of you, more eagle-eyed than others, will notice that there's been a little bit of exhaust coming out the back, wet exhaust coming out. They've got the engine on in order to move the keel around. This is something that we're going to see quite a lot when the boats are in the in-port sections. I mean, Conrad, right now, for the sailors, for the teams, are they just sitting there and hoping? There's very little they can really do to make this boat go fast if the breeze doesn't play ball.
With all the will in the world, there is nothing that they can physically do right now to make this boat go faster. It is literally a case of hanging on to the sheets, trying to stabilize the sail so that the little flow of wind over the sails doesn't get shaken out as the boat rocks gently on the incoming tide. It's just really a case of sitting, waiting, and hoping. They've caught a little bit of a chance here, and that is that Scallywag, which looked like they were going to just sail around them. Remember, there was earlier in the day a risk that Dongfeng race team could have done that to Mapfre. We thought just moments ago that Scallywag could have actually done that, but now everybody stopped and they are right sitting in front of the finish line.
The finish line is in view. The right-hand end of the finish line, as they are going to approach it, that is the yellow mark. The other end of the finish line is a transit post on the shore. They have to sail between the two. And right now, they are just creeping down there. We've been talking a little bit about the current in the river. At the moment, it's different from what we saw earlier on this evening. It's now helping the teams across the line. And you could argue that it is the only thing that is actually carrying AkzoNobel across the finish line. One question that we had come in from John Olsen, have we ever seen the Volvo Ocean teams using an anchor to stop the boats from drifting backwards? Yes, tonight. Vestas 11th Hour Racing used an anchor earlier on. So it is an option, and we have seen it. But AkzoNobel, they want that tide, that current, they want it helping them. So right now, AkzoNobel are just a few moments away from crossing this finish line. And Conrad, this is a big moment for this team, because obviously the trials and tribulations leading up to the departure, they left the dock with one less sailor than ideally they would have liked, sailing with a slightly reduced lineup of sailors. But, I mean, they really showed incredible boat speed and incredible tactical nerves as well.
They really did. They were really, really impressive out on the water. They had far from ideal preparation, and in fact, they're one man down. They have been sailing in preparation with 9 all the way through the spring and the summer since they picked up their brand new boat. Now they're sailing with 8. They're sailing with 2 sailors that are new on board. They've got the core of their crew off the boat, and they have been sailing incredibly well given those circumstances. Remember, when the boats were still in the Mediterranean, they sailed an incredibly tactical, courageous race. Oh, well, it looks like that was the person I was about to talk about. Their stand-in navigator, he stepped up to the plate when Jules stepped off, and they have been sailing incredibly well together. These Simeon Tienpont had the opportunity to put together a very strong team. Doesn't quite resemble that at the moment, but despite that, they have sailed this out of their skins. Really, that they could have come last given the challenges that they faced before the start line, and they have always been in the top 3. They've just slipped out of that, but they have defended their 4th position, and they should be incredibly proud of that.
Amazingly proud, and you can just see why they're congratulating each other on board, as well as waiting for the congratulations from the shore, because As you say, this was a team that, well, you know, if you're looking at it just in terms of statistics, they're sailing with one less sailor. That's physically tough. But in the first half of this race, them and Vestas 11th Hour Racing set the pace for everybody else to follow. It was only really in the last sort of day and a half that they started just to fall off against the other teams. Now, we can just see Simeon Teampoint, the skipper on board. He's just put on the headset, so I'm hoping that we will be able to talk to him live.
Yeah,
we're trying to dial into... Oh, Simeon, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
Simeon, wonderful to hear you, wonderful to welcome you into Lisbon. I mean, a fantastic performance for you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm unbelievable proud of the guys on board. I mean, I cannot tell them enough during the whole leg how proud I am of them, you know. I mean, we didn't, after all the detailed preparation we made in the last couple of months, we had a bit of a storm and probably the worst preparation you can ever have as a crew. But we all got on there, and it was a full street fight mentality. And my compliments to all the sailors. I mean, the team morale was so high. We enjoyed with each other, and yeah, we sailed our socks off. You know, even that we were one man short, it was really tough. But we are very content with a fourth place.
And we've been seeing so many photos and videos coming off the boat of smiling crew members. You know, has that atmosphere, has it been on a high the whole way round?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the start, once we were out there, and I told everyone, like, you know, it's a bit of an unrealistic situation, but, you know, we're on the water, we were in a fantastic race, and the biggest thing is, in these moments, you need to enjoy it, and we need to enjoy it with each other. We know we have a fast boat, and everyone had to step up a bit, and everyone did, you know. It was just fantastic, and even that as a crew, sometimes here and there, we didn't sail the perfect race, you know. We had some beginner mistakes so here and there as a new crew sailing together. But then on the other hand, we had fantastic moments, and we were really in the groove. And yeah, and even how we got still so close with Dongfeng, you know, with one trimmer helmsman less over the last 48 hours. I mean, absolute compliment to the guys. They are fantastic. They did such a fantastic job.
And Ross Monson as well, you know, somebody that jumped on board your team. I mean, he's a name that is just buzzing around the office at the moment because some bold tactical calls that really paid off.
Yeah, no, well, I'm not sure if it's bold. Happily, I knew the name already for many years. So when I started this program, you know, we tried to get him involved once we were setting up the performance side straight away. And happily, he was always there by our side to do all the preparation for the legs on navigation, but also performance. And yeah, somehow we tried to play it real simple as well. You know, we sort of had to, and yeah, we had a good groove, and sort of we both ran a watch, and yeah, and Ross has been yeah, just down to earth and seeing it all, what was happening. And yeah, fantastic. Like, he did such a fantastic job, and yeah, really, again, you know, really proud of Ross, but also everyone on deck who just makes it happen. You know, one thing is the call, but also to keep the boat going. And yeah, it's good job, you know, for where we came from. I think it's a pity it's not a podium, but that would have been over the moon. But with a fourth place, we're unbelievable happy.
And Simeon, we've got a lot of fans watching. Could you please, for the Dutch fans, could you please just sum it all up in Dutch, please?
Oké, in het Nederlands. Ja, nee, net gefinished hier in Lissabon. Nerve-breaking met geen wind. En net achter Dongfeng. Het was nog hard strijden voor een derde plaats, maar het werd vierde. Maar ongelooflijk trots, vooral op de bemanning. We hadden na maanden van voorbereiding was er toch ja, een hoop onrust in de laatste week. En hadden we ja, misschien wel ja, een scenario wat je niet vooraf had kunnen verzinnen. Maar we zijn allemaal aan boord gestapt en we hebben met elkaar afgesproken dat we het vooral dat we het vooral heel erg gingen van genieten. En dat we gewoon street fighting erin gingen. En dat hebben we gedaan. En ja, het was best tough met 1 man minder en 1 helmsman en trimmer minder. Maar iedereen heeft gewoon een stap harder gezet. En ja, goed teammoraal en ja, uiteindelijk een fantastisch resultaat waar we heel erg blij mee moeten zijn.
Thank you, Simeon. Now, I just wonder whether you can do us a favor, because one thing we've been talking about here in Volvo headquarters is people's first offshore and some of the young sailors coming through. And we can see behind you Martine Grail, who we are just dying to wonder if we could speak to her. Do you mind just swapping the headset?
No, absolutely. I'll give it to her. Here, hold on.
Where am I talking to? Who am I talking to?
Martine, it's Niall in Volvo Ocean Race headquarters. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, first of all, congratulations on such a strong performance. But I'm wondering for you, for somebody who's no stranger to winning, but possibly a little bit of a stranger to offshore sailing, you know, how was leg 1 from your point of view?
From my point of view, this team had a pretty good race, and I was surprised by how we could, you know, be ahead of so many trained teams. You know, coming up with a crew in the last day. So I think it was an amazing performance, and although we were struggling in the maneuvers, you know, congratulations for the navigator and for all the crew. We sailed pretty well.
And how did your crew sort of deal with having, you know, 1 crew member down? Everybody, from all the boats we've seen, are tired. With you guys, did that become a factor?
No, not tired, but I think everybody was pretty motivated, you know, to just go out and sail because, you know, that's what we know what to do, and I think we just have to adapt. You know, it wasn't easy, but you know, we were sailing, doing shifts with 1 person less, so I think like we lost a bit on that, but we managed to adapt pretty well. And it was nice having Antonio. He came from Scallywag and joined us for this leg. It was pretty helpful as well.
And lastly, Martine, you've got so many fans from around the world, not least from your home country of Brazil. I'm just wondering, can you give them a message from the boat in your native tongue?
Bom, galera, eu acabei de chegar na primeira perna aqui da Volvo Ocean Race em Lisboa e eu estou muito contente com o resultado. Foi excelente para o nosso time que, né, passou por uma turbulenta semana antes da largada. Então a gente já estava super contente já de largar a regata e muito mais contente ainda de chegar na frente de muitos barcos ainda. Foi uma chegada muito difícil porque a gente ficou completamente sem vento e o barco que estava logo atrás da gente veio aproximando muito rápido. E por alguns momentos a gente achou que a gente fosse perder nessa posição, mas a gente conseguiu segurar na linha de chegada.
Martine, thank you so much. Well done to you and your crew. We'll see you on the dock.
All right. Thank you and see you.
So AkzoNobel now across the finish line, and I mean a performance really that it's difficult to diminish. Sunhunkai Scallywag, on the other hand, well, you know, the last sort of hour or something, they've closed down that distance. But Conrad, what's happening now?
What's happening now? Well, frankly, not a great deal. Sorry, do you want me to go further with that?
You just can't sell it, can you? You can't sell it. I mean, what Conrad's talking about is what you're basically seeing right now. Everybody has suffered just off the line with the breeze up the river. It's been punishing.
It's been punishing. And I think that the Scallywags, as skipper David Witt likes to call themselves, well, they may be having a moment of reflection there. You can see that they're surrounded by the chase boats, one with the blue flashing light just behind them. And they have actually furled up their sail. I don't know if that means that they have a problem or if they've already broken out the barbie or just what's going on there. Maybe they're just hoping to sit there and get pushed along by the incoming tide. It's a valid option because the sails that we saw working deployed on AkzoNobel were frankly not doing that much. It was just the tide that brought them across the line. So that may be what these guys in Annemiek Bes are waiting for. It's going to be interesting to ask that question to David. What on earth are you doing there with no sails up? But frankly, there's not much going on.
I think you're absolutely right. If there's no breeze to fill the sails, there's just drag. You might as well get them out of the way. And I think, their tactic is exactly what you described. It is just current. I mean, it's important to point out here that you can see the masthead code 0, the sail that they were using before, furled up on the front. Behind that sail, going from the deck to the mast, there are a whole bunch of wires, forestays, things like that. So really that sail, if the breeze is constantly changing side from one side to another side, you have to furl it to get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way or risk damage. And that's what the key thing is here, is that if they're not under threat from behind, AkzoNobel has already crossed the line and got the points in the bag. Nothing is really going to change here. I wasn't being sarcastic when I said there wasn't much going on. It's just the reality, that there's no point at putting these valuable sails, and I can't say this enough. They've only got a really small number to get them all the way around the world. Maybe they're just protecting their valuable assets here.
Well, speaking of valuable assets, we've had a question about something that we're seeing on some of the boats here. So while we're just waiting for Scallywag to close down the final 0.2 miles to the finish line, one of the questions that was sent in from Ben Daniels is about the yellow appendage on the back. Now, this is something that you're quite fascinated about. Briefly, what is it? What is it for?
Well, it's not actually an appendage, and the reason I'll just clear that up. The appendages officially on board the boat are the 2 dagger boards, the 2 rudders, which are painted orange, and the keel, and obviously the bulb. So all of that is orange. The yellow bit at the back is actually a hydro generator. Now, this is not made with hydrogen. It's not going to blow up. What it is it's a generator with a little propeller on the back of it, and where you can see it installed on the back of the boat there is it actually rotates and it flops down into the water, and then its little propeller spins around with the force of the water that's rushing underneath the hull. And so I've actually used these in my races around the world, and in a race called the Barcelona World Race, which I participated in 2014, I went almost all the way around the world using just that to generate the electricity on the boat. The only reason that we turned the engine on in that race was to dry our socks, and then I went one better using the same kind of principle just this past winter when I completed the Vendée Globe all the way around the world without stopping, using just clean energy provided by the same kind of system. So this is incredibly powerful, and it's an innovation for this time in the Volvo Ocean race, and it's a first step towards reducing the amount of the amount of diesel that these boats consume as they go there around the world.
And just one of the bits of technology really that the Volvo Ocean race is sort of spearheading and trialing and sort of helping get the industry sort of developed. So we'll be seeing more of that hydro generator later on in this edition, but certainly in the future as well. And right now, we are seeing a familiar sight. Sunhunkai Scallywag trying desperately to cross the finish line. The only thing that's really taken towards it at the moment is the current, is the tide. It was pushing the teams away from the finish line. Now, by the time that David Witt has got down here, so now finally the current has turned and it's just helping them across. Now, Conrad, this team, David Witt and his Scallywag crew, they're a team that is, as best described, as very close-knit, very tight team indeed. And they've certainly been pretty entertaining for us monitoring the action at race headquarters.
That's right. You can't go wrong with a little bit of Aussie wit there, and David Witt is a great example. Never doubt what exactly is going through his mind. He's always there to give exactly what's going on. Unvarnished truth is the way that he gets through the day. It makes for pretty entertaining stuff. And you were talking about his band of brothers. Now, when they announced, they sort of ruffled a few feathers actually, because they said that they didn't want to take any women on board, that he only wanted to sail with the guys that he had been sailing with for years and years and years. Remember, this is a guy who, as a crew member, has sailed 20 Sydney Hobart races. So clearly he has got a lot of people that he sailed with over the years, but he's always had a key core. And when he came out of the blocks, said he wanted to do this race, he just wanted to take those guys with him. Finally, they discovered that the Volvo Ocean 65 was a bit challenging, needed a few more hands, and they used the rule to bring in Annemieke Bess, somebody who had already sailed with the team on board their 100-foot Scallywag Maxi. And so she already fits into the sort of Band of Brothers principle. She's part of the team, she's part of the crew, she's part of the family.
Oh, no, one thing, Conrad, because you're winding the clock back nicely, and I wonder whether I could get you to take a look at this leg, because we're watching these boats here, and it all looks quite sedentary and sort of, processional at this point. But actually, this leg has been, pretty jam-packed.
It has 1,450 miles, starting in Alicante, with incredible images that we saw from the start line. They busted their way out of the start town down to the south, all in a pure drag race. Nobody doing anything until the moment here, which was the key moment that put initially Team Brunel into the lead, but finally Vestas 11th Hour Racing. That was the moment that put them into the lead, and from that moment, on the first night, they were never really in danger of losing it. All the way down through the Alboran Sea, in a notoriously difficult place to sail with the currents and tides, and certainly the wind swirling around and getting concentrated here at the Strait of Gibraltar. We were live with you with our helicopter images, and the images were amazing. So spectacular, and such a privilege to see these Volvo Ocean 65s wound up and flying in true offshore condition. Heading out towards the Cabo San Vicente, at the bottom corner of Portugal, again, Vestas 11th Hour Racing were in the lead, not really challenged too from behind, 6-mile lead back to Matt Frey or AkzoNobel, as they finally get through the light conditions around Port Santos and then into a charging downwind condition. This is what we saw from them at Gibraltar, and they were able to perform again in the strong conditions. Finally, going around the waypoint that we added into the waypoint, into the course to lengthen the course out. Di Kafari had a few words to say about that. She wasn't too pleased that the leg was extended. Anyway, they were off on a reach here, and then finally ended up tacking upwind in light conditions in the middle of a ridge, and then finally beelining it here to Lisbon. On a reach, and then finally upwind until Vestas 11th Hour Racing made it around the TSS, and then, well, the wheels came off. They got stuck in a wind hole and allowed Matt Frey to close up behind them, and that's what led to the exciting finish that we had earlier today.
It was an exciting finish earlier today because it had some real risk of actually reshuffling a couple of the places. Sun Hunkai Scallywag earlier looked like they were going to get the better of AkzoNobel. It didn't quite happen. But the voice that you can hear now is David Witt, the skipper of Sun Hunkai Scallywag. And if you've been following the Volvo Ocean race, you do not need me to explain just how energetic a character he is. Now, there seems to be a little bit of action going on here. In fact, we are seeing... Is that, I'm not sure exactly which crew member that is, just getting changed into a wetsuit, it looks like here. Conrad and me, we're just peering into the screen at the moment to try and work out. We think it's Luke Parkinson getting himself changed. We know that from the telemetry data that's coming in off the boat, we know that they're experiencing no breeze at all. Their speed is 0, and it looks like it's going to be the anchor, Conrad.
The anchor is it. A little bit surprised to see Luke Parkinson getting into his swimmer of the watch gear, or they always have a wetsuit and swimming gear. Let's just listen in and see what's going on.
Take it. Give it back to me, Woody. The best way would be to put the crunch strap around the anchor and then cut the crunch strap to drop the anchor. Phil, we're about to put a guy in the water here. Make sure no one runs over him, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. It looks like they've been brought north, and maybe they're concerned about going aground if they're not already. I'm a little bit confused as to what they're doing with their life jackets there.
Take it off, mate. Not using it, take it off. Over the camera, just me.
Yep. Do you want us to?
Right, ready? Yeah, ready for it. So life jackets here.
Okay, and we're back with you now, and it looks like the action that we've been seeing these last few minutes has been in preparation of the anchor. We can see a crew member, Stephen Hales, standing at the back there, waiting to receive the anchor and presumably turf it off the side. We're just looking into the information here at the moment, and the tide is actually bringing them northwards as they're already close to the north coast of the River Taj. It looks like they're concerned about being swept onto the rocks, or there's a nasty breakwater just there. You know, adding insult to injury, you can see the lights of the Volvo Pavilion there in the Volvo Ocean Race Village. That's where they want to go, but they don't want to go there over the top of the breakwater.
And if you've been watching the raw feed on the Volvo Ocean Race blog, all the footage that's been coming straight from the team, straight to the website, you'll know that David Witt has been looking forward to getting onto dry land and enjoying himself. Now then, Conrad, there's a look on your face of slight confusion. There's a different way of doing this. They've got some life jackets out, inflated, and they seem to be passing the line through them. Is that just so they can kind of keep an eye on where the line is, a retrieval line maybe?
Yeah, bit of a strange one. In my years as an ocean racer, I haven't seen that before. Adding...
Right, okay, what's happening? We've got a diver in the water, and what they are doing is they are swimming the anchor away from the boat, and it's being floated by the life jackets. Then they're going to cut the line. I think we did hear David Witt talking about that. The anchor will drop down, and then they can start pulling the line.
And this may indicate the fact that they think that they're already aground. That this is one strategy called kedging, for those of you that are sailing anoraks out there that want to know the technical terms for these bizarre sailing terminology. It looks like they are, exactly as Niall said, that they are floating the anchor out away from the boat, and then they will release it down to the bottom of the River Taj, and then maybe if we can see some hand gestures on board, maybe they are now going to wind that in and pull them southwards away from the rocks and away from danger.
It's just hit me what it is we're actually seeing here, how strange this is. I mean, if you're a follower of the Tour de France, the cycle race, and you remember when one of the cyclists was running up the hill when the bicycle broke down, this is sort of the equivalent that we're seeing here. There's no breeze for this team right now. The finish line is almost within arm's reach, and they are having to kedge themselves across with anchors. They are trying everything. It's a second anchor, I believe, going out. So they've now pulled themselves onto the first anchor. The swimmer of the watch, we think it's Luke Parkinson. He's swimming back out with the second anchor, and they are going to manually, hand over hand, haul themselves across this finish line. And this is absolutely remarkable, and this is an incredibly punishing final few hundred meters for this team, who have really excelled themselves from, you know, the learning curve that they had to get on in the prologue and the leg zero, really far behind some of the other teams in terms of pace. They were matching some top teams in this race, and now all they want to do is finish. All they want to do is have a shower and some food and relax, and they are having to swim and claw themselves ever closer to the finish line. This is remarkable.
Well, you're right. When I've had the wind turn off on me when I've been at sea, I have often sort of joked about getting off and swimming the boat across. this really seems to be happening here.
Well, meanwhile, with these extraordinary scenes right now, we have AkzoNobel making their way to the dock. Friends and family there to meet everybody as they come in. Let's listen in.
Sabe certamente para esta equipa como primeiro, é uma performance verdadeiramente notável. Temos o António Fontes aqui, mesmo à popa. Grande aplauso! Bravo! Team AkzoNobel! E para o António não vai nada! Ei, como é que é? FRU! Boom! Well, amazing result for them, a very difficult race, a difficult start, and they have come out with flying colours. Very appropriately looking very beautiful with their paints, their paintwork, and AkzoNobel have painted all of the boats in the Volvo Ocean Race fleet. And we're going to get a few words with the crew and the skipper. Luke Malloy, just tell us what it's like, emotional moments, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's great to be here too, family. It's been a hard couple of weeks within the team and also at sea, so it's good to see some friendly faces and see they're all okay.
You've done this before, but not with little kids around waiting for you on the dock. Just tell us how you feel.
Oh, just incredibly proud of how we sailed, and also for the team, we pulled together out there. I think we have the youngest average age of just over 30 years old on board, so we certainly had a few tough times through Gibraltar Straits and things like that in 30 knots, but now we're here, it's all good.
Great, you can paint the town red tonight.
That's right, mate.
Or maybe turquoise.
Yeah, you're right.
Good, congratulations, well done, and I think Rodrigo is with, Rodrigo, are you here with Martin? Let's have a word with Martin, come over here. Simeon's spoken already to a bunch of people, just a quick word, Simeon, before we talk to Martin.
Yeah,
You're happy, a difficult few weeks, but a good result in the end.
Yeah, it was unbelievable good to be on the water, and it's just amazing. I mean, all the respect for the crew. I mean, the team morale was high, we enjoyed with each other, we all know that we were one sail short, but everyone pushed it hard, and Roscoe did an amazing job getting us out of the Mediterranean in a very good position, and then from that moment on everyone kept pushing, and I'm very content about fourth place. I think it was good for where we came from, and start building now.
Very good, well done, okay, we'll take Rodrigo, go for it, mate.
E antes da Martina, vamos ouvir o António. António, parabéns. Parabéns, bem-vindo à tua casa. Conta-nos lá como é que foi esta aventura.
Foi espetacular, foi um bocado em cima da última hora, eu não sabia que vinha, eu trabalho para outra equipa e à última hora eles precisavam de mim e acabei por vir. Ainda bem que os barcos estão todos do grande design, é tudo igualzinho, eu nunca tinha andado neste específico, mas é tudo igual, portanto foi bem, as manobras foi tudo bem.
António, para uma equipa, digamos, quase improvisada, isto é um resultado do outro mundo.
Sim, nós infelizmente perdemos alguns lugares agora no fim, mas vinhamos bem classificados e foi pé, e agora estamos para ter mais um.
António, parabéns, bem-vindo a Lisboa e acabaste de fazer história. O primeiro português termina uma etapa da Volvo em Portugal. Parabéns e venham muitas. Obrigado.
Martina.
Okay, nice, Rodrigo. Thank you very much. One more quick question with Martin Grail. Just one more quick one, and then we'll move on to Sunhunkai Scallywag.
Martim, finalmente regressa a Lisboa, mas regressa a casa, não é? Hoje falei com o teu pai e ele dizia que já não tinha mais coração. Como é que é?
Assim, a gente foi difícil já ter chegado aqui, todos esses últimos dias, né, pertinho com o Dongfeng, 24 horas a gente, né, ganhou, perdeu 1 milha só, então foi muito tenso, imagino para ele assistir.
Olha, Martina, à partida esperava-se quase muito pouco de vocês. Vocês fazem um resultado extraordinário. Como é que isso foi?
Pode repetir?
Não, devido às condições que vocês tiveram na largada, a expectativa era um pouco baixa, não é? Mas vocês superaram-se, fizeram uma etapa fabulosa, não é?
Com certeza. Depois da largada, a gente não sabia nem se ia conseguir terminar a regata e realmente o resultado foi espetacular.
Ok, Martina, bem-vindo a Lisboa e bom descanso. Obrigado.
Okay, give them a round of applause. A round of applause, Team AkzoNobel. Now we'll take a pause for a few local media interviews, and then we'll welcome in Sunhunkai Scallywag, and then go up to the prize giving. So we'll take a pause for a few minutes.
Sure, and I'm sure very relieved to be leaving behind the bizarre scenes that we're seeing out on the racecourse at the moment at the conclusion of leg 1 of the Volvo Ocean Race. If you've been with us this evening, you'll know that all the teams have been facing some hardship getting across that line. Vestas, 11th Hour Racing, who ultimately won leg 1 with a huge, healthy lead, but still struggled to find consistency in the breeze, and it's just grown from there. Now, earlier on, we saw Sunhunkai Scallywag in real difficulty, and it's certainly been a leg that has been a real challenge. But now, AkzoNobel back on the dock. So let's take a look at some of the key moments from leg 1.
You make me feel so good. You make me feel so good. I got the love for you. Got the love for you.
It's been a turbulent week, but I'm happy to be here, very proud, you know. I mean, this race is about the best sailing in the world, and I feel very happy that I can be part of that for Team AkzoNobel.
AkzoNobel Scallywag just to windward, pushed out Brunel and AkzoNobel.
I came to rock right now. Best believe we all gonna get down. Yes, I am internationally known, and I can rap on everybody mic 'cause I'm on it. Jump on it, tell the knees I've been had 5 on it. Putting the game and everyone on full notice. Coming off force and only that's not a warning.
Yeah, I started my countdown. It's only 44,995 miles. So should be alright at this pace. We'll get there around 21st of June. The Hague. Still liking it. It's all good. Best job in the world.
And all of a sudden, Simeon ran out to me and asked me if I want to do the leg. Of course, that was my goal. So yeah, then I spoke to Wheaty and he was happy with it as well. When you are a reserve sailor, you need to be always ready to jump on board whenever it's needed. So I was, that's how I'm here.
Then you're the key to my heart. You open up the door. Without belief from the start, you made me feel it more. You know this, you know this, you know this, you know this, you know this makes me feel good. Before I tasted your love, I thought I had it all, but now I feel like a fool. I'm coming back for more. You know this, you know this, you know this, you know this, you know this makes me feel.
I think this morning was one of those moments that you think that's why I do this. It was a pretty nice downwind, like full on surfing waves. It was pretty good.
Well, that was AkzoNobel's leg one, but meanwhile, let's take a look at what's happening at the finish line. We've seen extraordinary scenes here. I mean, questions have been coming in via you on Facebook. You know, the precedent of what we're seeing here right now. What we're watching is kedging, and Conrad, you know, is going to talk us through it. I mean, this is something that's rare, and it only really happens when you're up against it and you've run out of all options.
Well, yes, you're exactly right. It's interesting to see them here on the bow, and it looks like they've actually recovered their life rafts, their life jackets. They were using as a float to float out the, or maybe they're just resetting and they're ready to go again. If we can go to my telestrator, I'd like to explain a little bit about what I'm seeing here. Let me give it a go if I can explain exactly what's going on. All right, so there's the boat. It looks a little bit like Conrad's finger painting, but here we go. Basically, what we saw when we had a swimmer in the water is that they were swimming an anchor sort of out here using the floats to float the anchor. Then they dropped it off, and then this line became taut, and they put that around a winch and then piled everybody on the pumps. And let's go back to the images. And then they can both use that as a fixed point to save the boat from being washed up on the rocks, but also to pull them up towards that anchor. Now, I think we saw 2 anchors in play, and so it looked like they were throwing one, swimming it out using the floats, and it looks like that's what they may be doing again. It's hard to know. So they swim it out, drop it off, and then pull the boat up to that one. Simultaneously, they were preparing another one, swimming it out, dropping it off, and then pulling it up to that second one. So that allows them to get the boat away from danger and into the clear. However, if we go to the rules of world sailing, my thought is that they're not actually allowed to make the boat advance down the race course in this manner, so they can really just save themselves rather than actually pulling themselves across the line.
This is a really interesting one. We're getting some questions, you know, from you guys watching here, but also from many people in the office as well, about the legality of what we're seeing. And kedging, Conrad, is something that we see quite a lot. But the thing that's interesting is a swimmer in the water. And as you were referencing the rules just a moment ago, it is can somebody get into the water? Can someone swim? Well, yes, they can. But if the boat is in danger and they're there to help it, or if they're there to help a person who's fallen overboard, the question is that what we're seeing there? Were they in danger? Were they going to run aground? So I think there'll be some questions about this for a while afterwards. It's certainly unprecedented either way.
It is. You know, it's relatively standard in offshore racing, the idea of throwing the anchor and then letting the boat fall back against the current and sit in an idle position. The question here is what they're doing with 2, and if they're trying to use it as a means of propulsion, and indeed the swimmer in the water. Potentially, the race director may have a bit of chat with skipper David Witt at the conclusion of this race and see exactly whether they thought that they were doing it for a performance gain or whether they were trying to do it to save the boat.
And important to point out, just for anybody watching here, about the rules, as the Volvo Ocean Race is a special event with world sailing, the Volvo Ocean Race is allowed to tweak some of the rules to sort of best suit the offshore nature of it. So we're a little bit curious as to exactly where the rule falls with this, and we're going to be talking to some people who are a lot more dialed into the letter of the law than we are. But, I mean, quite apart from all that, as a sailor, legal or not, this is really not what you've signed up for. It's not really what you planned to do at all. And they could just put an anchor down, sit there and wait. But this is a team that's desperate to get across that finish line. They've sailed really fast. They've sailed really well. And right now, all they want to do is get
might get a piece, you know what I'm saying? It ain't no joke out here. Yeah. In the streets, man, we out for stacks. This is for real, better watch your back. I got my 9 and I'm ready to blow. Yeah, you know how that hood go. Grimy. Hey, yo, the street is crazy and ill, huh? Better watch your back when you ride 'em for real, huh? Everybody out to get a piece of the pie, ride. For a couple 20s, they might cut out your eye tonight. Give me what you got, sucker, ain't that your ride? Let me see your keys, what you got up inside. Sharks eating sharks in this world of hate. And if you really know what's good, you can pack up and skate. Jungle of concrete. In the streets, man, we out for stacks. This is for real, better watch your back. I got my 9 and I'm ready to blow. Yeah, you know how that hood go. Grimy. In the streets, man, we out for stacks. I'm looking for a bump sucker to back. I got my 9 and I'm ready to blow. Yeah, you know how that hood go. Grimy. Yeah, you know how that hood go.
Ready to keep on going.
Big city living, gotta take that weight. You really tripping if you think you can escape. Get on stress and it's hard to deal. And if you're talking that mess, it be on for real. Nothing to lose, all your jewelry to gain. And you probably right if you think I'm insane.
Oh, the pins come out of the furling unit under load and the sails dropped in the piss. I don't know how. But we've recovered really nicely. Could have cost us 3 spots. But yeah, boys did a good job, boys and girls.
Yeah, in the streets, man, we out for
You're not going to win the race in leg 1. No one's going to win the race in leg 1.
And I'm ready to blow. Yeah, you know how that hood go. Grimy. In the streets, man, we out for cake. I'm looking for a bump, something to shake. I got my 9 and I'm ready to blow. Yeah, you know how that hood go.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to arriving in Lisbon. I like Lisbon. It's been our training camp. Looking forward to seeing Lenny on the dock. Looking forward to having a nice dinner with Lenny and having a load of cracked pepper after dinner for dessert.
Congratulations, great place finish as they come into the dock.
Need a dock. We need the dock. Like he's down to hold it there. We got this dock right here. Coming through. Yeah, dock it, mate. Where's this line? I've got one here. Where's this one go? You want to give me a spring on it? I'll run it for you.
Just seemed pretty good. Must be happy.
Yeah, Halsey's just got hurt, so we're a bit worried about that. He's got hit in the head with the boom, so we've got the doctors there, so we're a bit concerned about that at the moment, rather than how we went. But
oh dear. Okay, yeah,
hopefully
I can see that.
Hopefully he's all right. I think he's hurt his neck, got whacked with the boom. So
did that just happen? Literally just happen?
Yeah, just trying to get off the rocks here to finish. So I've never finished like that before.
Oh my word! So drama on top of drama. You went aground just before the finish.
Yeah, we tried to get AkzoNobel by coming down the shore there. It was pretty close, and then we got stuck on the bottom. And then Parko and Alex had to swim out into the channel with the anchor to get us off the bottom, so we could then drop our sails and drift across the finish line.
You're making this up.
I wish I was. Have a look at the boat.
Oh my word! So look, you got the anchor out. How do they swim with the anchor?
We put 2 life jackets on the anchor, and Alex and Parko swam with it, attached all the kite sheets, and got out in the middle of the channel, and then winched ourselves back off the rocks.
Oh my word, that's unbelievable. Well, we're happy you got off the rocks, but obviously there is a sense of concern over Steve House.
Yeah, there is, but he's an old boy. He's tough. He'll be right, I think.
Okay, great. And other than that, though, I mean, the race was pretty good for you. You were right in the hunt all the way around.
Yeah, no, we're, I mean, you know, 5th is 5th, but we're really happy. We were right in there for most of it and learned a lot. Guys go sailing past us with different sail combinations we've never seen before, so we write it down and match it and then catch them. So we had a really good race with Defong for a long, long time, so that's very encouraging for us.
Right, and as you say, it must have been a great learning experience. Those guys were trained for when they did the last edition, and they've been training ever since. So you learned plenty.
Yeah, absolutely. We're certainly on the up. We're getting better. So look out in a couple more legs' time.
Excellent, congratulations. Well, we'll leave you to get to your crew, and best wishes to Steve. Hope everything's all right.
Okay, cheers. Thanks, Green.
Okay, we're going to give a moment for the local media here, and we're going to make sure the doctor's all right. And got the doctors on the case with Steve Hales.